Hello, hello, and welcome again to the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode where myself, Tom, and Richie discuss newly announced games coming to Stadia, potentially big price movements in the streaming market. Why is the internet being so negative towards Google Stadia? All of that and much, much more in this week's podcast. So without further delay, on to the show. Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 2, the sequel of our Sounds of Stadia podcast. This week I'm joined by the usual suspects, the techie teacher himself, Tom.
Hello.
Hello, Tom. And alongside him, my other co-host, I've dubbed him Mr. Amiga himself, Richie.
Mr. Amiga. I can't remember anything about the Amiga. Hello.
You had one, though. You had one, so
Yes,
that's now
one.
your official name until something better comes along. So welcome to episode 2, the sequel. Welcome, the two of you again. Hopefully you both had good weeks and you got plenty of gaming. How are we both feeling this week?
I'm ready for it. Bring it on.
You ready?
Absolutely.
Richie?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Good. Dusted off that
Let's
Amiga. Great. So I wanted to start this week, I think, by thanking everyone who listened to our first episode last week and for subscribing and sharing our podcast with their friends and families and whoever else they wanted to, their enemies maybe even. I think you gentlemen, you both said you both had a listen back to sounds of your own voices. Sounds horrible, cringy.
Yep,
Especially in podcast form. But yes, I think we all wanted to say thank you for actually taking the precious minutes out of your life and actually listening to our subtle voices. So this week we got an action-packed show. Quite a bit of stories went down. So I thought we'd start off by actually segmenting this episode and get some actual structure in place by starting with, as I dubbed previously, until we come up with a better name, the super I can't even say it now. The super sexy special Stadia story segment, or AKA the news.
The news.
For short, it's just like a slow leak for short.
That is an
so the
awful
news.
sound for audio.
I'd imagine so, yes. Apologies in advance to my Texan fan base out there, which apparently we've got now. I need to give a shout out to it as a different state every week. So I think I'll go with Florida this week.
All right.
So all them Floridians out there listening in.
Well,
So it's going to be interesting next week because he's just used up all the states he knows.
Actually, no, I know a few more. I've been to a few more, so I'll tick them. Once I've run out of those, that's when we'll start Googling. Find other lists. But to start off with then, gentlemen, story number 1, I think big news landed this week. We spoke about it in our chat group. Red Dead Redemption 2 has been announced for Google Stadia at launch. What are your thoughts on that?
What a cracker. Can you imagine? I mean, getting Rockstar on side immediately is to me, that's huge. That's huge. Look at the backlog. Look at the number of people who play their games. That is something I'm very excited to jump into again.
Oh, I didn't play it actually, but I'm very interested. The thing that's interesting for me is, will this support mouse and keyboard? Because Red Dead has never been on PC before. So there's a big section of PC gamers out there might be wanting to look at Red Dead, and this could be the option for them.
I mean, Stadia does support mouse and keyboard,
but does Red Dead?
They've announced it for PC as well. So
I'm sure. Yeah, it is coming to PC as well. So the date that Rockstar dropped was November the 5th, because suddenly the speculation started blowing up as saying, oh, does that mean Stadia is going to be November 5th? And everybody started jumping on that. But as far as it's being confirmed, we know it's going to be a Steam release for PC, Red Dead Redemption 2, mouse and keyboard. Yeah, I expect they probably will add it because they've got it for GTA 5, and I'm pretty sure it's built on the same engine, so should be okay.
Yeah, I would have thought so. So you were saying, Richie, you didn't jump into Red Dead Redemption 2 on console?
No, I didn't.
What were your reasons for that? Let me hear it.
Honestly, I was a little worried about how hyped that game was, and although it reviewed well, when I was reading the reviews, it seemed a little dull. The people having the same sort of thing, it takes ages to get anywhere, the lack of fast travel, it just seemed to be like a very well-polished game. That seemed a little boring, to be honest, from what I was reading of the reviews, and that's kind of put me off a bit. So I thought I'd wait till things die down a bit, let more people get their hands on before I invest.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I played through. I loved Red Dead Redemption 1, I think, which
Mm-hmm.
everyone did undoubtedly. It was definitely a product of its time, and it was one of the best ones probably of last generation. I jumped into Red Dead Redemption 2 from launch, played through the entire campaign, loved loads of it. The character development, the character acting. I think we can't deny Rockstar how good they are at building them relationships out.
Absolutely.
To a point, yeah. There's lots of people you kind of know through playing it. What I think they always do, they did with the Grand Theft Auto games, you kind of get a really good feel for that world, and you almost don't need to refer to the map because it's so fleshed out and so detailed. You know where you are in that world, and to get from point A to point B, you could almost do it freely without the use of a separate UI or a map, which is, I think, what they do really, really well. But you're completely right there, Richie. There was points in that game where I just felt dragged so much, and a big part of that for me was the travel concept. Yes, you could brush your horse. Yes, you could feed your horse. You could replace it. You could kill it. You could do infinite many things with that horse that you wanted to do. It is an 18 rated game, but the reality was there was big chunks of that game where I felt like I was just traveling for traveling's sake and nothing was happening.
I think part of that comes from the fact that, the premise of the game, the Wild West, you're exploring a new frontier and so on there. But I do see that. I mean, I had a good chunk of time to put into the online for it as well when the beta was launching. And the online felt to me, it was sorely disappointing. Compared to GTA 5 online, there just wasn't a lot to do.
Was that, do you think, down to the limitations of what's in the game? Like the technology, there's no flying cars, there's no guns, there's no helicopters. It's very much horse and carriage.
I just think that at launch they hadn't prepared a quality online area of content really. So it just really felt like you could go into it, you could just shoot people. There were no real challenges or anything to it. Nothing to do other than just racing people and killing each other.
Yeah,
that was about it.
But wasn't GTA 5 like that online initially at launch? Because they're very focused on the single player experience, and then they'll develop the online as it goes. That's kind of what happened with GTA 5, and it's why it's still working so well for them right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is why I'm sort of feeling like when it comes out on Stadia, I am going to engage with it again, because I feel like at the time that RDR2 came out, it was very, single player story driven and so on. But because the online element wasn't fleshed out, I never really got a good chance to experience everything they were releasing for it. So now with it coming out essentially a second release on Stadia and on PC, that might be what it needs to sort of kick up their sales and also like get me engaging with it again, because I love the Rockstar games, absolutely love them. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with it.
Yeah, I think for me, I played a bit of the online multiplayer also with one of my friends, Gary. Shout out to Gary.
Yeah, shout out to Gary.
2 R's. Shout out to Gary. Yeah, I played a bit of that with him. We jumped on, and as you said, Tom, it was very much just hunt people down, do the races on the horse, which again, once you'd done them once or twice, it became very, very repetitive quite quickly. We found difficulties with just being hunted by random people. And it was fun initially. Yeah, they'd kill us, we'd kill them. And then we ended up just spawning almost not that far away from each other, which I'm sure they've fixed that and they've moved people along and people who are just in there to be pretty much arseholes, really.
Yeah.
But we played for solid half an hour, we've just been followed by this one guy, just chasing us all over the map where we went. And I presume that was because we couldn't hide from him. So we just tried to get away from him. He'd catch us, we'd kill him, he'd kill us, and then we just wanted to get on with the game and go do something else. But he was persistently just following us, like we had an actual bounty on our heads, and he just didn't like our usernames or something. Yeah. And he just had it in for us, and there was no way of getting away, and we had to quit that kind of server and jump back in. And like you get that loading screen come up, and it takes a while, and you just think, is it even worth it, or do I just want to jump back into another game?
Things like that can always be a bit of a shame. Where he's probably having a great time hunting you down, keep probably finding you, having great fun. Yeah. But it's actually then ruining your experience. I think it's just the perils of multiplayer at times.
Yeah,
when you're trying to coexist in the world.
Don't get me wrong, lassoing someone off a horse and then dragging them to the edge of a cliff and leaving them dangling there is quite a lot of fun. Yeah. But when you're on the receiving end of that for 2 hours straight. Yeah.
That's it. Well, that's it. The fun stopped. Like the initial couple of shootouts were really fun. It was like, oh, this guy's trying to kill us, but there's 2 of us, so he kept losing. I don't know whether he just thought he was every time he'd get one of us killed and pick us off, he was like getting one over on us. But it just became a bit of like a back and forth, and which got old like after a couple of minutes. Yeah. But yeah, I think like Richie kind of noted towards. I think Rockstar definitely invest in their games. They're always slow burners. Like look at Grand Theft Auto. That online community is huge. It's still one of the top MPD selling games every week, every month. Somehow, everyone doesn't already own that game.
I don't think anyone quite understands how they're actually doing it.
I think it's Rockstar. I think Rockstar just buy them up every week.
They've got a brilliant business model.
It's the microtransactions. Guys from executives from Rockstar just keep buying them over and over and over again. And when he goes back in the business, they get that out as a bonus and put it back in.
Yeah, something's doing
Massage the numbers like that.
Yeah, but I think what you mentioned as well, this is like huge news for Stadia. As much as we can gush about the game, and it got loads of Game of the Year nominations and awards, I think the biggest thing for me is that Rockstar are willing to play ball with this brand new platform. And I saw on Twitter Phil Harrison, the vice president of kind of Google, who was leading up all the Stadia charge. He was basically, I think, shared a post on saying thanks for your collaboration, looking forward to work with you in the future. And I think having these on board is a huge shout out to the kind of the focus and the determination that Google and the money they're putting behind this. Because getting that on board just opens up, like you said, Tom, to that portfolio of Rockstar games. The back catalogue's huge. They've been around for years with like really top marquee titles. Yeah. I mean, what else would you guys like to see come across?
GTA 5.
GTA 5.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? It's one of them things where, yes, when did it come out originally? It was last gen, so what, you're talking 2012, 2013?
It must be something like that.
Yeah,
2013.
Yeah, 2013. That's absolutely ages ago. It's almost coming up on its decade in a couple of years, and it's still, like I said, top-selling game. So for that to get a new breath of life almost on Stadia, whole new player base comes in. Yeah, because it totally needs one. Or people who've kind of fell by the wayside, they might just jump back in. I mean, I haven't played it since I think I got my PS4 and I got the remastered version. Will this give me the impetus to jump back in if I can do it in a hotel, if I can do it on my phone or tablet?
Let's think about it just for a moment, sorry. So GTA 4 came out 2008. GTA 5 came out 2013. GTA 6 on Stadia? I don't know.
Could be 2021.
2021?
No chance. I think that is gone in the oven, and that cake will be cooking for a long, long time. Yes, I think
it's true.
With the vibrancy GTA 5 has, there's no need.
It's been in the oven for 6 years.
They're one of these companies. Well, they can leave it though, because again, they switched over to Red Dead, and then they can switch back. But again, how much of a tail does Red Dead have?
Coming in arguably the next year, so this is why I'm saying 2021.
Yeah,
maybe potentially even a launch title.
I think we're going to go this whole generation without a GTA. New GTA.
My prediction is probably either for next year as a launch title for whatever the Xbox and PlayStation bring out, or it's sometime in 2021, for not long after. I think they'll want to hit the start of the generation.
But regardless, Google now have another AAA developer on board with them.
Yeah.
So we can expect to see whatever they release next coming out on Stadia, because if they're on board, it's very likely, considering the hardware once again, that they will launch with it. So fantastic. Bring up the sales.
Yeah, because if anything, it's again, as we spoke about last week with all the flops going around, it's essentially it's a PC build. So with Red Dead going on to PC, they've got that legacy of, if they're going to build it for the highest possible platform, in theory, Stadia is going to be that. So whatever the next gen Xbox, next gen PS5, whatever it's going to end up being called is Stadia, in theory, should always be ahead of the curve in terms of the power it can output. So if you're a developer, why wouldn't you want to make for the pinnacle top tier of the tree and just work your way down to other generations? Or
and
other,
once again,
consoles?
Sorry, Richie, you go first.
Yeah, you've just hit on something that I found interesting there. It effectively removes the upper ceiling for developers. So you probably see more developing for Stadia, because this is where they can experiment more.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're limited with traditional console, even limited with PC, based on what box someone's got in the house. So you can't push too hard because you're cutting off your market in PC. It's always been a problem with PC gaming.
I mean, you just have to look at the Nintendo Switch for how everybody's kind of gone into their back catalogs now and kind of reworking their old coding of these older games, because it's easier to port across almost. Because, you can start at a top tier, and bringing the resolution down is a damn sight easier than putting it up. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tom. You're our techie guy.
No,
it's
you're
always easy
right.
to pull it down, isn't it? To bring everything, slow everything down, blur them lines a little bit. And like again, The Witcher comes out next month, I think, for Switch. Mm-hmm. How will it run? God knows. But if they're looking at building it for a top tier specifications, they can just pull it back. So like you said there, Stadia should definitely be the go-to kind of base level, and then wind it back if they need be, because at the end of the day, it's this PC architecture we spoke about last week.
And if you think about the quality of the story-driven games from Rockstar as well, having that with you on essentially something you can, as you're planning on doing, Chris, is taking it to and from location to location with cloud saving as well. You'll just be able to constantly be able to move from place to place, take it with you, and just keep diving back into the story. So to me, again, fantastic. Can't wait. Cannot wait.
Yeah, I mean, even those mundane journeys on that horse, they could be different if it's me sat on a train, or I've got half an hour while I'm having breakfast, having a meal, doing whatever. You've got that, like those small windows of time where traditionally you'd maybe jump on and play a mobile game. And instead now, I've got 40 minutes here. Just get the tablet out, pair my controller with the internet, and I'm aware I can go from point A to point B, get a bounty, go hunt somebody down, do what I need to do. But then when I get to sit down for a long gaming session, I've got the 3 hours on the big TV in the living room when I'm back home.
Yeah.
So this is great. But yeah, if we talk about in terms of Rockstar being a big one, does this open the window for other third parties? Those are the big players we mentioned.
We hope, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We touched on it last week, but the sports games from EA, they alone can be system sellers. How many people just buy a console for FIFA, then pick up other games?
Yeah, certainly.
So I think EA at the moment is a big, big miss for them.
Yeah. And if you take
is it in the pipeline?
I feel like it's got to be in the pipeline because, again, EA's reputation at the moment, they want any kind of positive spin they can get on it. And I think, supporting a new up-and-coming platform, it's the best interest for both parties. Google certainly want them involved just for those yearly rollover titles. And, again, it fleshes out their portfolio even better once you get all these third parties on because, as you said, Richie, you're getting these annualized titles. That means Stadia is guaranteed 1 or 2 sports games or shooter games every half a year almost at the current rate, and they are the games that I would want to play on the go. Personally, I haven't bought FIFA for the last 2 years because it's more of the same. However, if I had the ability to jump in and just do a quick career match, 20 minutes spare, and then jump out, that's fantastic. That's the ideal scenario for Stadia to work.
Oh, definitely. And if you think about the casual gamer who just pretty much plays, say, FIFA, with Stadia, you're basically saying to them, you don't have to worry about buying a box again. Just up your subscription. There you go. Yeah. Buy the new game, and you're done. You got to go.
The plan probably fits better for that type of player as well. So surely it's got to be a business deal behind the scenes at the moment. Some, the big wigs behind the scenes there are probably just hashing out numbers more than anything. But again, it's just one of these things that it goes hand in hand. If Google are looking to bring on the casual gamer on here, then okay, bring on those people who do spend their time and spend their money every year with FIFA in the States, Madden, whatever it is. But just again, Google, what's going on? What's going on? Get EA on board.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a Stadia Connect dedicated just to EA at some point in the next couple of months.
The only thing I can picture holding them back is they're very much all these third-party developers. They're trying to launch their own platforms at the moment for subscription-based content. So you've got EA's that's currently running live. I think Ubisoft have got their Uplay thing up and running still, where they're already trying to segment the market by pulling people over to their own subscription. Come to us, you get all your games free for a small monthly subscription. If they go Stadia, that might, from a business standpoint, I think undercut their own plans for what they want to roll out next year. Because if they can get you to come direct to them and pay for FIFA and they get every penny of the pot, why would they want to segment that again by going, well, tell you what, you could go get it with Stadia, you could go get it with them. So it's a delicate balancing act, which I think discussions must be going on behind the scenes, putting them chess pieces in place and seeing how this is financially going to best play out.
It'll be down to licensing. Yeah, it'll be down to licensing. But I mean, I completely forgot about EA, like Project Atlas for EA. I just completely forgot about it. But again, is that because there's not a lot of news to go on with that there? So is that as a result of Stadia's upcoming launch, or is it because of the other platforms and what they're doing in terms of xCloud and PS Now as well? I don't know.
It might be also because EA always seem to be in hot water with something. Maybe they're trying to change their image before they try and launch this platform, because in the current climate with how the internet sees EA, you launch a platform and I don't think you get that much uptake. there's going to be a lot of people out there looking to destroy your chance if you're EA. So I think winning people over makes sense for them before the launch, before they push it.
I think they will. I think ultimately they will come to Stadia because, again, as the discussions we've already had, if and I mean this with all due respect, if EA can get money out of it, they'll ship it.
They're a business, of course.
It's a business. It's more money for them.
Yeah.
It's the exact same reason why Stadia will want them. Money.
Yeah, it works both ways because at the end of the day, these are businesses. I think we always forget we get kind of toiled up with the passion that comes behind these projects. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is that they exist to make money, just like we all work to make money. That's the way the world works. What are your current takes on like EA? Because again, personally, I don't actually mind them as much as I think they get a lot of stick for. I play the FIFA games if and when I want. The Battlefront game wasn't as bad as everyone made out. At launch, yes, it was a bit patchy. There was a few odd things going, but if you play it now, it's vibrant community. It's Star Wars at the end of the day, and they have the license. I'm really excited for Jedi Fallen Order coming up next month as well. And at the end of the day, their game, Battlefield and everything, they look gorgeous. They usually play well. I've not really got that big a problem because at the end of the day, when it comes to microtransactions, I don't have to buy them. No.
My problem with them is they are so aggressive with the design of the games around microtransactions. Mm-hmm. That was the problem with Battlefront when on launch, although they U-turn quite quickly on that. And I think that's the problem as well with FIFA is actually. Quite often, I think FIFA career mode gets neglected in favour for Ultimate Team because they're constantly making money off Ultimate Team, which leaves sections who don't care about Ultimate Team, such as myself, but do like career mode and always have. Feeling a bit let down every time I get a new game, and it's the same as the one that came out 4 years ago with just different rosters.
I think it's a prophecy here that's it sort of exists amongst the big AAA developers because they know that people buy it, and when you have people who are running a business, they're going to look at ways that if people are putting money into it, they're going to consistently do it. But more recently for me, stemming slightly away from EA, I'm really enjoying playing Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled at the moment again, and when it first came out, there was no element of microtransaction. But now Activision have pushed microtransaction in by buying the coins that you can use to spend in the game.
And Wumpa coins.
All the Wumpa coins. And now each Grand Prix that we've seen, so each Grand Prix runs for a month. And what has slowly happened is each Grand Prix has fantastically added new items, which makes the game fresh. But the cost has crept up with all of them. And it is harder to earn those coins by playing the game regularly. And now we're sort of in this position once again where a game that I've really enjoyed has now sort of locked these items, which granted, again, they are purely cosmetic. They don't change the game, but they are locked behind a paywall.
Yeah.
In a way.
I don't mind microtransactions for cosmetic because as long as it isn't impacting the way for this game. I was worried you about say that effectively they've took the experience you bought on launch and put retroactively pay-gated things. But if it's just cosmetic, I don't mind that.
Yeah, there's always an argument to be made to both of them because I'm in the same boat as you are, Tom, where, Crash Team Racing, love it. I love that they're keeping continued support. There's that argument where all of this should have been in the box day one, but unfortunately, that's not how games are made. We could have just got the base package with the base maps, which was the remaster of the original. But actually, they've added all the extra maps in from the second racing game. I think it was at Nitro Racing. And like I said, they continue to support it with new race maps, new characters, new skins. So it's kind of like you're actually getting more than original. And at the end of the day, these games have to come out eventually. They can't be in development until the game is the most detailed, fleshed out, most characters ever. And they put it out and it does bad. The whole point of these is it does support them with their ongoing development. And like I said, it keeps that game alive. It breathes fresh life into it. So it's unfortunate. It's a necessary evil, I think, that we have to live with.
It is, but I think the way that I look at it, and we could talk about microtransactions again for an entire episode. So hopefully I won't keep it for too long. But very quickly, if the initial game price is lower than the standard for a AAA title, then I wouldn't mind investing that little bit of money if it keeps me engaged in the game, if I'm constantly enjoying it, and it's giving me a few laughs. But if I'm paying £50-60 for a fresh release, and then as soon as I buy that game, there is stuff locked behind a paywall.
Yeah,
that's when I start to have a big issue with it.
Yeah. I think, again, it's a very delicate balance. If it came out and Crash Bandicoot was behind a paywall, or a grind, that would have been very, very disappointing, I think, initially. But they were quite clever with, they didn't add the microtransactions until after all the reviews were out.
That is
many weeks after all the buzz, all the hype, everyone who wanted it had bought it. Then, like you said, then they slowly creep in. It's very tactful on Activision's part.
Probably a bit too sneaky, to be honest. I think that would rub a lot of people the wrong way.
It has, but again, they've already got their initial sales in there, so it's kind of it's very clever from a business point of view.
Is that what's going to happen in future? Is this going to become?
It's like a stealth thing. Yeah, stealth transaction that's coming in there.
As I mentioned, for me, if you've spent your money, you've bought a game, and then they've added things later, and it is additional, then I don't have a problem with them adding microtransactions at a later date, as long as the core experience which you paid for is still there, still intact.
So it's very interesting, definitely. So speaking of Crash Team Racing, which is available on Sony platforms, we'll move over to story number 2, I think, to keep this train ticking over. Story number 2, again, not to do with Stadia, we think, or mate. Sean Layden, head of Sony Games Studios Worldwide, has left Sony.
Wow.
And he's been there since 1987, I believe. So that is a hefty bit of tenure to just pack up and leave. And I think especially, so again, just for those who don't know, this Sean Layden guy is the bloke who shows up on the E3 stage presentations. Obviously not this year, but prior years. He does a lot of the video conferencing, and he's very much been, in my opinion, one of the faces of Sony and PlayStation more recently, with the whole resurgence they've had with the PS4. For him to step down at this point, going into potentially a next generation next year, what are our thoughts on that, gentlemen?
Well, you say step down, but the way for someone who's been so integral to Sony and PlayStation over the years to go out with just a whimper, it seemed like, and he's gone.
Yeah, because just for clarity's sake,
it
was a Twitter post. It was just thank you for your service. Have a good luck in future endeavors. No press release, no kind of PlayStation blog post, nothing as details which you would expect to see from the head of game studios stepping down. You'd expect every developer to come out of the woodwork and thank him for his time and his ingenuity and kind of future leadership. So obviously the rumor mill is rife with what this thinks it means for Mr. Sean Layden. What do we think, or what do we hope?
Well, if you think about the games that he's actually been sort of overseeing during his time there, especially with like the PS4 exclusives, you've got Detroit Become Human, God of War, Days Gone, Spider-Man as well, absolutely, and something that is coming out extremely soon as well, Death Stranding, our lovely Kojima Productions title that is going to surprise and change everything. This, Sean has done a lot of work for PlayStation, especially bringing on these huge developers and overseeing these massive titles exclusively for PlayStation. So it seems very strange that he is just, as you said, he's just fizzled out with nothing from himself and nothing from anybody else. So is the curtain drawn on something that's happening or something that may be happening?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if he was retiring, which I'm sure he's more than wealthy enough to just step down and enjoy his balcony overlooking a lake somewhere, I'm pretty sure they would have announced, thanks for your service, good luck on retirement, you've earned it kind of thing. But yeah, to leave and not say anything himself, because he's very active on Twitter, is Sean, for him to just leave without saying anything personally definitely suggests some kind of NDA business deal. You're not allowed to talk about it until we officially announce.
The term that stands out to me in that tweet from the official PlayStation account is departing. Now, obviously, the connotations could mean a lot of different things, but he is departing.
Yeah, I've got a feeling he's went into work and went, by the way, guys, I've got an offer from somewhere else. I'm leaving. And because of his stature in the company, it's kind of a case of, right, you're on NDA, you've got to go now. Today.
Yeah, potentially. So where do we think he's gone? Fingers crossed. Are we hoping he's going to jump over the Stadia crew?
I mean, I can't see him jumping ship and going to Microsoft, because
that would be a very odd move, I think. Yeah.
There will be a lot of competitive clauses within his contract, I'd assume. Now, I've not worked in the industry, but in most business, you'd see something like that.
I think data goes for Nintendo there as well. I'd imagine he has clauses in his contract. He cannot work for Microsoft. He cannot work for Nintendo for like 5 years or something after leaving Sony.
Yeah, like a timed exclusive on Shaun.
However, Google is brand new to the industry.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's kind of if he was to leave, it would be really peculiar if he went to a rival. And I think the reality is at this moment in time, Google's so new and Stadia is so brand new to the whole industry. It doesn't come with any connotations where he's not jumping ship going to a direct competitor, because at the moment, I think they're so fresh that no one really knows. So him kind of frontlining that from Google's perspective, it just brings a massive name and a wealth of experience in this particular industry across.
And someone who's great at getting these amazing single player titles that have built Sony over the last couple of years.
It's made a name for what they mean.
And something Stadia is slightly getting a bit of criticism around by the game library.
Yeah, that portfolio needs, in my opinion, exclusives that I can only play on Stadia. At the end of the day, my opinion is that's why Sony have won this generation of consoles.
Yes.
Not from the hardware, not from what they've done uniquely, but other than these amazing first-party games which they put out.
Yeah, I can say for certainty, when I was looking to get my PlayStation, I was looking at the PlayStation, I was looking at the Xbox, and I went for Sony because of the exclusives. There was there's very few things on Microsoft saying that I looked at and went, yes, I definitely need to play that, but there was loads on Sony's. And that's what made my decision.
Yeah, I mean, just look at their PlayStation Hits catalog, which they're promoting now, which we'll actually get onto in a little bit with one of the other stories. The reality is that its games sell these things.
They do.
And without that list, that's not going to go there. So what do we think? Out of the three of us, I think he's going to Stadia.
I would agree. I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't want to play devil's advocate, but I mean, I would
go for it. Makes more interesting
any
content.
Sentence that is started that way, you know where it's going to go. Okay, I mean, I would love to see our old Sony Interactive Chat move over. He would be incredible, an incredible addition. The thing I'm worried about is the other big player in the field, which is Apple with Arcade. Now, I know it's a different market, but Apple, again, have a lot of money there. It's sort of the same sort of argument here as to, you know, new in the field in terms of that sort of area. Does he go there? Does he go to Google? My hope, my heart is on him moving to Google. That is what I'm really hoping for, because it is a logical move.
Yeah. I think when you put the two, Apple Arcade alongside Stadia, I think from what he's familiar with, and if he's had a peek under the hood at these two, because no doubt he's got access to it. He's had these conversations up and down. I'm sure when they meet for these big fancy lunch meals that they have, that probably costs thousands of pop bottles of champagne and laugh over microtransactions. I'm pretty sure that they discuss the kind of inner workings of what all these future concepts are. Project xCloud, Sony Stream and stuff. They'll all know behind the scenes, all the big wigs up at the top. I think, lining up alongside, I think Apple Arcade, Tom, very good point, saying, this is also a new thing to the market. But I feel Sean's kind of expertise definitely lies. And if he's seen what Stadia's capable of, if he knows currently what Sony's kind of plan for the future of streaming is, and he's seen them side by side and thought, actually, you know what, Google's got this nailed, they've got this right. Because, I mean, Sony have partnered with Microsoft for the future streaming to some degree. They announced that last month, I believe. If he's seen both comparisons and thinks this is a good chance for me to kind of step up to that next level or that next step in his career, my money would be on Stadia. But yeah, Apple Arcade's not, like I said, Apple have that money as well. And if it's all about money for him, who knows?
The thing that's sort of, the more I'm listening to it, the more I'm becoming convinced by it, really. But it is all speculation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
However, that
he could just literally announce that he started his own studio with Kojima, and he's off on a holiday with him somewhere.
Yeah, and all the speculation is built around the fact that it was his decision to go.
Yes.
We haven't even considered that this might be Sony making executive decisions based on what Microsoft have started announcing, what Google are doing, and suddenly found themselves going on the precipice of PlayStation 5 with something that is very different to what the other players are doing, and they may have might have even lost faith in that vision. So behind the scenes in Sony, it could be a lot more rocky than we think
he could be a huge stage presence as well for Google Stadia, because at the moment, we've had presentations from certain individuals over there, but Sean Layden is as you said, Chris, he is the face of Sony's gaming wing, really, that we've seen at E3, at any Sony events in relation to PlayStation. It is Sean.
Yeah. But again, just from his personal, I think he's made a point before of saying he doesn't like doing the stage things, which I think is a big reason why. Well, one of the big reasons Sony dropped out of E3 this year. If Google or whoever he's potentially moving over to, again, he could have just retired or quit or been sacked for all we know. But if he does end up going somewhere else, I think he might appreciate the ability to not be front and center and actually go back to his day job, which is just collating these studios for exclusivities and kind of chaperoning that into kind of what's next for their library of exclusives. So I think moving on from that story, gentlemen, as I'm very time conscious still. Tom, you had a story about people joining Stadia again, who we do know about, confirmed. Do you want to fill us in on that one?
Yeah, so former Crow Team's Chief Technical Officer, Alan Ladavac. I'm not sure about the pronunciation of his name. I do apologize, Alan. Alan Ladavac.
Your surname is either, Tom.
So former Crow Team, famous for titles like Serious Sam. Used to love Serious Sam back in the day. And more recently, the Talos Principle, which is available on a multitude of platforms. He has now moved and is now joining Google's München division, the Munich division over there, as their engineering manager. Just another one.
In time for the end of Oktoberfest as well.
Just another one.
Typical.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Move to Germany, enjoy the beer.
Chris, Oktoberfest is actually in September, so he's just missed us.
Ends in October. Don't you try and catch me out on that, Richie.
Starts
in September, ends October 6th, which we are still. It's the final day today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm
maybe he just got drunk and then met the Stadia crew.
maybe Sean's there.
Yeah,
getting the
him and Sean getting the beers in.
Stadia party. That's it. So yeah, Tom, you were saying, so those games that you mentioned there, I'm actually not familiar with whatsoever. Okay. Do you want to tell us what style they usually go for?
Serious Sam was a tongue-in-cheek first-person shooter. Very crazy, very over the top, very gory, but almost, I don't want to say cartoony, but akin to, in a way, Borderlands-esque for that sort of humor crossed with the violence levels, really. I used to play it on the PlayStation 1 and I believe through the PlayStation 2 as well. But Talos Principle is more recent in terms of joining the market, and that was a more story-driven puzzle, like sort of like solving puzzles, that sort of type of game. So very different. But Chief Tech Officer, I believe they're a Croatian-based company. Okay. Don't quote me on that. I haven't checked my sources, but
I'm going to quote you on that.
Yeah, me too.
When we find out.
Fine, but again, another player from the gaming world who has now moved over to support them on the technical side of things.
Yeah, Crow Team are Croatia-based, Zagreb.
Brilliant. Zagreb. So I think that's. Yeah, so the portfolio is getting bigger with all these studios kind of putting their flags in the camps. I know we've seen Xbox buy about 5 or 6 in the last year or two. Obviously, Stadia have got their portfolio. Sony, now leaderless at their Games Worldwide studios. Massive portfolio of amazing talent there. Nintendo naturally already have all their exclusive in the bag. Are we looking at a exclusive war going into next generation, do we think? Again, obviously, Sony's pipped the post this time round. Is everyone bolstering their arsenals, ready for a war of exclusive titles, do we think?
Definitely for me. We've seen Microsoft aggressively purchasing studios over the last few years. Sony pretty much won this console war because of their exclusives. And Google, they're not stupid. They'll have looked at that and went, right, we need to be doing well there.
I think that's where they win it sometimes, isn't it? That, as you said, last gen, Sony, previous gen, perhaps more to do with the architecture, but it is a game. It's a game of look how many toys I have. Look how many names I have in my bag. Look how many things I can throw that you can't have. You can't have this. So yeah. I think I'm with Richie on this one as well.
Yeah, it's definitely lending it to it, and I think I think actually moving on to story number 5, I'm actually going to skip number 4 for now because I think this feeds in better with number 5. Is we've seen PlayStation Now this week have a massive worldwide price drop, and I think when we look at all the other portfolios, you said there, Richie, Sony hands down won this generation purely off their exclusivities. Projects and plans such as Game Pass on Xbox. Fantastic, does really, really well. I think it's a fantastic subscription model. You get pretty much brand new games day and date, like Gears 5 that dropped, Sea of Thieves and Crackdown 3. Day and date, there it is. It's free to play. Forza, all in there. Do you think Microsoft have probably been easier to kind of create this portfolio purely because those titles don't necessarily have the ringing endorsement that the Sony ones do? So Sony have managed to keep their foot off the gas a little bit almost, see how the competitors kind of flesh this out a little bit. And now they're starting to really tighten the screw on actually what this could mean for next gen.
Yeah, I think, well, you tend to innovate more when you're probably behind because you're looking for ways to catch up and then get ahead. So I think this is why I mentioned that maybe things a bit rockier for Sony behind the scenes. They might have been resting on the laurels because they did this between PS2 and PS3 before as well.
Yeah,
they kind of rested on the laurels, a little bit arrogant, to be honest. Yeah. And they've arguably done even better this time round.
I think I'm going to take a quote directly from former PlayStation head Jack Tretton. Everybody knows Jack.
Jackie T.
Yeah, stiffer competition with PS5 compared to last generation, and he believes for that reason right there. The specs of the new equipment, he says, sound fantastic, but there is going to be stiffer competition. And again, I'm with you guys on this. I think it is for that exact reason.
Yeah, I mean, I want that. Again, competition breeds a healthy industry.
It does.
I definitely think if Xbox come out next year and they have, I mean, Outer Worlds, which comes out next month, or this month. Yeah. Outer Worlds looks fantastic. Definitely going to get that. Definitely going to jump on that. However, if Outer Worlds 2 is Xbox exclusive because they now own that studio, that's really going to create some thinking points for a lot of people switching over to next gen. If this lands fantastically well and it's a Fallout New Vegas experience, everyone loves it. Come the turning point next Christmas when they announce that number 2 is in the works, it starts, like I said, creating that thinking point for people going, where is my money best spent? And these exclusive, that is, like Richie said, that's the decision people fall down on, is I want to go for this particular console because I want to play games X, Y, and Z.
The other thing you've got to think about in relation to this too is that the people who will be investing in the next generation and the next world of technology are the people who are new players to this generation as well. So they've learned the lessons from this generation, and the biggest market will now be those people who are moving into the positions where, you've got school kids who are growing up and now working, they're getting jobs, they're now earning money, they're going off to university. They will now be buying their own consoles, their own pieces of equipment, and so on. So their experiences from last gen will apply to next gen essentially as well.
Yeah. What you mentioned there about actually people going off to university, that could work so well for Stadia. You just have a Chromecast at home, a Chromecast at university. Yeah. You're playing the game, stop, pause the game, throw it in your bag, get the train home for the weekend, sit back down. There you go.
Got to admit, when I was at university, I did spend a lot of my loan on an internet connection.
Doing studying, of course.
Thank you, government.
Of course, studying for those exams.
Studying. Oh yeah, all about.
Yeah. That. So I think just to bring it back around then to the story in particular. Yeah, we had a massive PlayStation Now price drop, which I think caught us all off guard out of nowhere. Slashed it more than in half, I think, in a lot of places around the world. The UK in particular dropped down to £8.99. Pounds, and I think in the US it was down to $9.99 from $20 a month, which is halved. And they bolstered that fact up by adding timed exclusives, timed being the caveat. Things like God of War dropped on there, Infamous Second Son, and a bunch of other great titles as well. GTA 5, I think, was the other one. Is this directly prepping and getting things ready for the launch of Stadia?
Yes. Absolutely, for me.
Yes.
It feels like PlayStation Now was kind of in the graveyard, and then suddenly what Microsoft are doing, what Google are doing, they went, let's get this back up and get this up and running again. Let's get some top tier newish titles out there. Let's cut the price to be in line with the other guys, and let's see if we can actually do something with this platform, which they've been neglecting.
Yeah, it's almost out of nowhere. In the last week, we've had Xbox announce the beta for xCloud. Sign up now, test it out. Sony comes out there and go, this thing we've kind of had going on since we bought Gaikai, not really done much with it. Bang, it's half price. Here's some fantastic games of this generation that are award-winning. Jump in, trial it, test it out. Just out of nowhere, almost. And it's very coincidental that Stadia is on the horizon as all this news is kind of starting to come to life.
And I jumped in and I thought, you know what? Let's stay neutral. Let's try it out. So I went for the 7-day free trial, booted up Uncharted 4, and it was great.
It was great.
I'm not going to knock it. It was good. It was a good experience. It was smooth and everything was running fine.
And this is without the downloaded variant. This is purely streaming.
This is purely streaming.
Oh.
Well, that was my experience.
Oh, controversial.
Yeah. Well,
let's hear about yours and Richie.
To caveat this, we have discussed this offline. My internet connection isn't the best. I get about 20 megabits per second, but Sony claim that you should be fine with 5. So I should be pretty comfortable. I tried to play Grand Theft Auto 5, and I had epic amounts of screen tearing, and the graphic quality was so bad that I couldn't even see the reticule. I couldn't aim.
Oh, wow.
It was not. I was only in for about an hour, and that's all I played. I'm going to keep playing over the next week until my trial ends. But first impressions, not good.
That's drastically different.
Interesting, yeah. So this is one of the conversational points that I think Stadia's going to have to overcome, and that is different people's internet and how it is going to affect it. If they recommend 5, that's actually incredibly low in comparison. I think Google's is at 20, 30 they recommend.
That's 1080p. PlayStation Now caps at 720.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that's very interesting. That I know your internet runs off Amiga speed potato quality, Richie, but still, I know things like Netflix and stuff usually ask for about a minimum of 4 or 5. I know a lot of broadband providers don't even bother in this country providing you with internet if it's lower than 3 or 4 because it's just not worth it from both ends. But yeah, to hear that you booted up a game and to have, Adam, it sounds like that rendered it unplayable for you.
Well, GTA definitely, because I couldn't see what I was shooting. Quite simply, I didn't have any problems with latency and actual input of controls. That was all smooth. It's just, the quality was like 480 tops, and because it's the GTA reticule is literally a white dot.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Couldn't see it.
Wow, that's very stark differences then. So we've got one side of the coin saying, works smoothly as anything. No problems whatsoever. And then yours is different. Interesting.
It was about an hour of play. It was about peak times as well, so my internet might have not been at its absolute peak. And I actually, since Sony seem to be dusting this off, maybe they'll refine that a bit further. Maybe something on their end at lower speeds they've had problems, because I have read problems. People have had these sort of issues in the past with PlayStation Now. But if this is something that they're really going to push into the next generation, they might really start working on the back end a bit more.
Yeah, it's tricky to isolate something like that when it's dependent on 2 services and it's dependent on something that's completely out of their control as well. And as you said again, Chris, that's something that Google are going to have to look at somehow overcoming. One thing I do want to throw in very quickly as well is this week I read an interview with I mentioned to you guys before with Greg Miller over at Kind of Funny as well, in relation to the online player experience with Google Stadia too. So I don't want to get too off topic with this one, but if you imagine one of the big things at the moment is we've seen an influx of battle royale type games, or you see a lot of online multiplayer experiences, like with GTA as well. Having a lot of people in one world can actually change the dynamic and make it very engaging, make it a lot of fun. Now, the way that works from a tech perspective is you have to make a connection to a server, but you also have to make connections to every other person in that game. So 100 people in something like, a battle royale game. Now, with the way that Google is set up, all of those connections are going to be happening in the Google data center. So you only have to connect to Google, and then Google does the rest of the work inside. So we might see a huge expansion with the way that Google is dealing with it, moving from 100-player games up to 1,000 with no issue to you whatsoever, because it's like a giant LAN party where you get all your mates, bring your computers around, bring your laptops, we all start playing Borderlands together, we all start playing Fortnite together, whatever it is. But I think the way that Google is going to be working things internally about sharing the way that games are prepared, ready for you, Richie, to experience over your internet connection is going to be dealt with differently to how it currently works with PlayStation and with their Gaikai service with PlayStation Now. So hopefully we will see a better service there overall.
Yeah, this is what I'm thinking for PlayStation Now. I think Google have probably looked at what PlayStation Now are doing and worked in the background a bit more. And as I said, it feels like PlayStation Now was kind of, until very recently, just in the scrap heap for PlayStation. I was expecting it discontinued for PlayStation 5.
I mean, they'll probably rebrand it, I would have thought.
Yeah.
It definitely strikes me as, with the launch, they're going to put everything in one package together and just be like, this is PlayStation Plus, this is PlayStation Now, this is its new name. Here we go at a fixed price point. Because again, you can only segment the subscription so many times. I'm already fed up of paying Netflix one, Amazon Prime the other, Now TV this, just to watch the bloody shows that I want to watch. Like, if you're going to do that with my games as well, I'm going to get fed up. And I think that's again where Stadia gets to come in fresh off the bounce and say, this is the price point for the Pro. You get your free games every month. Your library's here. Take it anywhere you want.
Feel free to drop the Stadia base if you're not using it.
Yeah, and just drop down, like, subscribe in and out. Yeah. So yeah, that's I think huge news. I think we're probably going to hear more stuff over the coming weeks from everyone's going to come out of the woodwork and now start touting about streaming and what the future of it looks like. So actually, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but we actually did have one of our followers actually write in. Technically, probably our first one that isn't ourselves.
Our only one?
No, don't say that, Richie. There's thousands of them out there. I remember all them Texans and Floridians who wrote in specifically about it. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out, massive shout out and a thank you to Ben Moxham on Twitter, who's definitely our most devout of followers at the moment, who's not been bribed. And he writes in, with probably our topic of the show. I know we're running late on time, so it's a topic of the show at the end here. But he asks, what are your thoughts on the negativity towards Stadia, and how can Google convince diehard console fans to give Stadia a go?
And that's the thought that's on everyone's mind at the moment, I think. Subconsciously, it's deep there.
Richie?
I'm not sure, to be honest. There's lots of different issues regarding negative. Everyone I've looked at, I've been doing a lot of reading, watching a lot of various YouTube videos of people seem uninterested or disliking it in general.
Liking it
and yeah, there's a lot of different things. People are not happy with, like, the potential of not being able to do modding in games. There is something there, but I kind of think, well, PC is still going to exist.
Yeah.
I
think a big thing, Ben, for you, what probably all of us are here thinking already, is we've all been quite open-minded with Stadia and streaming going forward. And I think, unfortunately, you're always going to get this. It just takes a like-minded individual or individuals to try something new. We all did it when we were kids, and your parents told you to taste this new food, and you turned your nose up at it. And guess what? It's
nothing
chocolate.
Changed.
You love it. It's chocolate. Always eat chocolate. But no, the reality is you're going to get people who are negative towards it. Anything new. People don't like change. That is the reality. That's the reality in life. And if they're going to come to you with this brand new proposition, they're asking for your money up front, and you've not seen any proof as to if it's going to even work yet, people are going to be slightly negative towards it, because it's human instinct to just push back against anything that is unknown to us. But yeah, I did a bit of research, looked into it. Didn't spend too much time watching YouTube videos, because, like I said, if they're just going to tout negative stuff for 30-20-minute segments, then what's the point? I don't follow people on YouTube for that kind of thing. I
was just looking to get the general themes, and there's things like game ownership, Google's business model, the limitations for smaller developers. So there is general, actual valid criticisms in there.
Oh, it's the ones that are neutral, and again, they don't kind of put all their eggs in one basket and just come out straight away and say, this is crap, it's not going to work. Even they haven't even seen it yet. So again, some of the ones I looked at, there's one which has got about 350,000 views, and less than a minute into his video, and I quote, is the absolute worst thing to be excited for in gaming history. Great. If you're going to start your video off like that, mate, you're not open to trying anything new. And the reality is, if we look at other industries, the video and music industry both have this issue where people are reluctant. People like their CDs, people like their DVDs. And where are we now? We're in a world where Netflix and Amazon Prime rule the roost in terms of video content output. Spotify and Tidal and iTunes run the music one. And guess what? No one buys CDs anymore. DVDs are on the decline.
We just end up in a position where you end up having two nested arguments sitting side by side. You have two communities that sit side by side. And I think, as you say before, you can't be negative from the get-go because you've got to remain open-minded and you've got to have a look at the product before you can make an official judgment. We've only been told, it's all speculation until it actually comes out, until the founders' kits are actually delivered. We can only say, what we think is going to happen. So give it until a couple of weeks, a month, and after launch, and let's talk about this again. But on the other side of that, like, how can Google convince console fans to give it a go? Well, first things first, it is going to be, for the most part, once it's completely rolled out, that anyone can access it. So maybe Google throws out an incentive to try to get people into it. Maybe we've already got Destiny 2 that's going to be included with the initial package here, but Google will surely be looking at opportunities here to try to engage us, right?
Incentives could be easy. Just, for example, you mentioned Destiny. Maybe on launch, you go, sign up within this period of time, and here's a month of Stadia Pro free, which you get Destiny 2, as long as you got your Pro subscription active. Have fun.
They're definitely going to trial.
There's an entryway of getting loads of people in with no benefit, no like downside to them. They can just go, okay, download the app or open your Chrome browser. I'm in, play Destiny for a couple of weeks and go, either yes for me or not.
Yeah. This is where I think their portfolio. I think initially they need probably a bigger fleshed out launch one, because, like you said, the negativity that comes with it, people want to sign in to this Google Stadia thing as they do Netflix and have that kind of library of games to go. And I think a lot of the negativities, I think people, when Google said they were going to do this streaming service, people defaulted to that Netflix model where they're expecting a full panel of 20, 30 games just a la carte, ready to choose, pick and play for one subscription fee, which hasn't happened. People are disappointed that they're going to have to buy the games. People are arguing, saying it's expensive, that this is the price. It's the price for everywhere. You go Xbox, you go PlayStation, you go Nintendo, you're paying that premium because gaming, unfortunately, is not a cheap hobby. It's not free. You don't get stuff for free. That's, again, back to what we spoke about business. That's life. You pay for what you want. It's not free. They've got no reason to give you to it for free. But as with anything new, I think, Ben, negativity towards Stadia, you're going to get it. Any new launch, you're going to get it. And unfortunately is, until it's out and we've all got it in our hands and we're all testing it, maybe just give it, like Tom said, a couple of months, a year. We'll see how it goes come that point. Anything else on that, gentlemen?
Well, the only thing I'd add is just, if you look at Stadia and you go, this isn't for me, then just don't buy it. That's fine. It's not for everyone.
It's not. It's like a microtransaction.
Despite what they claim, it's actually not for everyone.
Yeah, and again, by the sounds of your internet, Richie, it's not for you.
Well, hopefully. I can change my internet package in February. So
that is true. That is true.
The only thing I'd throw in there is, I mean, a lot of people go on about, Google gets bored when they create new things. They bring out lots of different products to the table, and they just sort of fizzle away and drop out. But if you look at the news, you look at what Google have done, what they've invested into this already. The architecture is already there from the tech standpoint, and they are putting a lot of effort into bringing on these people who work in the industry already and bring on these studios. I don't see them putting that much effort into something where they're just going to drop it in a year or two's time. I think they're investing heavily in the initial offset to try to show people that, look, we are serious about doing this and we know we can make it work. And I think for that reason alone, that we should stick with it. We should see how it goes, and we should hopefully have something that is going to change the game. But again, it is still speculation at this point. However, I, for one, I'm sure you guys are too, I'm looking forward to it. Bring it on.
Oh, yeah. for me, I think it's one of the first times we've had a big player enter the industry with something actually that looks pretty cool. We haven't had that in a while.
I think that's what the
Arguably
gaming
since
industry
Microsoft.
needs. I think this is what we need. We need someone new in the industry to revolutionize it. Because if it's just going to be the big three, Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony, we need someone new. And it is about damn time that somebody steps up and says, right, come on, guys, let's change it up.
Yeah. It's exciting new tech. It's 21st century tech that's launching in the 21st century. And like I said, we've not had that in a while. And I can't see the likes of Sega pulling their finger out anytime soon and jumping back into this market. Dreamcast 2, the sequel. But the reality is, it's exciting new technology. And those who embrace technology, as we've seen over the years, I mean, look at us all now. If you look down in your hand, you've probably got your phone there in your pocket or something. 10 years ago, touchscreen phones weren't really a thing without the iPhone launch and Android market taking off and stuff.
Quick shout out to my first touchscreen phone.
Yeah, and it's all changed.
Where's my buttons? I like buttons.
Just a quick shout out to our Microsoft Zune listeners.
It's crazy. Like, the reality is, it's new technology. People are going to be scared of it. But those who embrace it, again, it might not be perfect at start, but you know what? It's going to create competition. It's going to create a healthier environment for these games to thrive. And back to what you were saying there, Tom, about investment, you got to remember, you can't just chuck money and have a game magically appear. It takes 3, 4, 5 years of development, creating studios, stories, actors, everything to pull it together for these exclusive titles we've been talking about. So they're not going to pull the plug because I think they put that much money into it on the front that it's going to take a good couple of years for any of that to bear fruit. So I think we just got to sit and see.
Be excited for something new and just remain skeptical. We'll see what happens.
Which you're allowed to be.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with
saying you must like this. Yeah. We could all turn around come Christmas and say, it's not turned out as well as we'd hoped. But again, open-minded, we're willing to listen to it. So I think, thanks again for your question, Ben. Feel free to write in with any other topics you want us to discuss on the show. So finally, gentlemen, just to wrap up, because we've just ticked over the 1 hour mark, believe it or not. So the sequel is a lot longer than the original Origin movie.
And hopefully
just a quick one then to wrap up. Games we played this week? Games we played, yeah? Yeah, I keep doing it.
Yeah.
Until someone gives me a better one, I'm going to stick with these segment titles.
I kind of like it. It's terrible, but I like it.
It's Borderlands 3 here for me, guys. Borderlands 3. I'm still sticking with it. We've got a bit of an event going on at the moment, boosting the loot. It's been fun. I'm still rolling through it, enjoying it. It has its issues, but Borderlands 3 is still a lot of fun. Good game to sit down with mates and just jump online and kill things.
Excellent. What about you, Richie?
Well, I'm still completely addicted to Tetris 99. So I've been playing a lot of that. And last night, actually, I played the first episode of Life is Strange Season 2.
Wow. Interesting. How did you find it?
I really enjoyed it. It's been on my cross-media bar on my PlayStation for about a month or two now. And I sat down last night, I'm in the mood to play that. So just jumped in. Really enjoyed it.
You did play Season 1, correct?
Yes. I played Season 1 and Before the Storm.
Yes, Before the Storm, I was going to ask. Really good games, really enjoyed them, personally.
I played through them both twice, actually.
Yeah,
so I'm a big fan of the franchise.
Yeah, they're kind of the only ones carrying the banner for that kind of telltale, slow story-paced thing at the moment.
Life is Strange, that's Square Enix, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Don't Nod is the studio, I believe, who worked on their behalf to make it. But really great games, really character developed, and they kind of fill that void that Telltale unfortunately left in their wake.
They've got a bit of a different style to Telltale, where Telltale is a bit more comic-y. This is the characters always feel incredibly grounded. They feel like real people, not video game characters, and that is probably the biggest thing they've got going for them.
Yeah, real people with superpowers.
Yeah,
exactly. For me personally, what you mentioned, Tom, Crash Team Racing has got that spooky Grand Prix going on.
Yeah,
got to get Professor, I presume, Dr. Embryo, got him on there.
Embryo.
Can't believe he wasn't in the base game. This is where we're talking back about DLC and stuff like that. Can't believe getting my Koala Kong in there as well. Get him in game 1, not there yet still. Guessing he's going to be in the next one.
Oh yeah.
I'm still chipping away at that Batman Arkham Platinum. So I went back and did some of the challenge missions in there, grinding away. They're so hard, man. They're not even fun. Trying to do so many moves and stuff, but I've got that to do, and I think a hard playthrough, and I might have that one in the bag. And because it is October and it's the Halloween season, I've started the Ghostbusters remaster as well.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
How are you finding that?
You know what? It's graphically doesn't hold up that well. Not that it did first time round. But you know what? Playing a game that's an original story by Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, all the voice acting's authentic. They've even got like Walter Peck in there. Yeah, really good story. If you've not played it before, if you're a Ghostbusters fan, highly, highly recommend it. It's definitely a AA tier game. But you know what? Sometimes that's not a bad thing. I've enjoyed the clunky movements, the basic fighting, but you know what? The story, then the music, the sound effects, yeah, they're all spot on, fantastic. I'm chipping away at that one as well. And it's perfect if you want something spooky for Halloween this year, and you're not quite into your Resident Evil jump scares, anything like that. But yeah, if we've got anything else, gentlemen, anything else we've got planned for the rest of the week to play?
No.
Anything on the horizon?
Same old.
Jump back into The Witcher, but
still chipping away at that Witcher.
Well, I haven't played in about a couple of weeks because of the Link's Awakening remake, but I need to get back into it because I want that platinum.
Get that dirty
Work
platinum
on it, Richie.
before we find out about these Stadia achievements.
I'll get that.
Fantastic. So yeah, I think that's all we've got time for this week on Sounds of Stadia podcast. Thank you again so much for listening. All your feedback is very much appreciated, and you can contact us with any questions like Ben did via Twitter if you've got any input. That is twitter.com/Sounds of Stadia. While you're there, you could also do us a huge favor, give us a like, a follow, and a subscribe. We are also in video form over on YouTube, and I say video form with a caveat that it's actually just a static image and the audio playing alongside the video. But you know what? Get your content wherever you want it. We're on all podcast services that we're available to. Google Podcasts should be live, iTunes, Spotify, all those ones, and a few of the ones that I've never heard of before, but we are live and out there. So if you're looking to switch it up to video, follow us over on there and give us a subscribe, give it a watch, share it with your friends, and help us grow, I think, our SOS community that we've got here. All however many of us there are out there. I know America's a big country, so I'm hoping by shouting out these states individually every week, slowly but surely people will say, hey, I know someone from Florida. I'll give them a shout.
They need some friends.
You need some friends. Finally, if you've enjoyed what you've heard so far, you can obviously support our podcast even more over on patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia, where any donations are appreciated and it helps this podcast keep on plodding. Well, yeah, I know. So that has been episode 2 of Sounds of Stadia. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks to my co-hosts Tom and Richie once again. I've been Chris, and that's us out.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Amiga.